I went no contact with my ex-BFF years ago after she exposed my children to a man charged with horrible acts, and she stayed with him. Years later, at graduation, she and her daughters cornered and chased my daughter and me until the police were called. Throwaway account because the people involved are unhinged. I know this is going to sound completely unbelievable, and I honestly understand if people are skeptical. I almost wish you guys were right, but unfortunately, this is exactly what happened this week, and I'm still shaking just typing it out. I also know this is long, but the backstory is important. Sarah, 42F, and I had been best friends since kindergarten. I trusted her with my life, and I trusted her completely with my kids, which is why what happened years later felt like such a massive betrayal. A few years ago, I found out she was dating a man who was eventually charged with sexually assaulting his own daughter and her friend. The exact day I found out about the charges was the day our friendship ended. I was terrified and absolutely furious that she had exposed my kids to this unsafe person. I immediately had my kids assessed by a psychologist. Thankfully, there were no signs they had been harmed, but I've never truly forgiven myself for unknowingly putting them in that situation. After cutting her off, the full extent of her double life started coming to light. While playing the perfect mom, she had been hosting parties with underage kids, drinking, and doing hard drugs right in her house. I made multiple reports to Child Protective Services because her kids were living in an unsafe environment. Even though he wasn't legally allowed around them, Sarah would sneak him into the house anyway. She just wouldn't leave him. When her health started giving out from heavy substance abuse, she abandoned her kids and fled across the country with him. The worst part? Because of COVID court delays, the case took too long, and the charges were eventually dismissed. He never served time. Sarah's liver eventually failed completely. She was denied a transplant in our state because she wouldn't stop using, but she survived, managed to get a transplant elsewhere, and moved back 4 years later, acting like absolutely nothing had happened. Because Sarah was gone for those years and there was no parental contact, I eventually allowed her oldest daughter, Chloe, 18F, and my daughter, Nicole, 18F, who is autistic, to hang out again. Nicole needed space with friends, and with Sarah gone, it finally felt safe. I was wrong. Chloe acts like a sweet, perfect angel for teachers and parents, but underneath it, she is a bully. Throughout junior year, my daughter went from having a close-knit group of friends to being slowly and systematically frozen out. Nicole spent months wondering what she had done wrong. On the first day of summer, Chloe actually messaged her to say they weren't friends anymore because Nicole was too smart and got better grades. Watching your child lose her confidence and spend an entire summer feeling isolated is heartbreaking. Thankfully, Nicole found an amazing group of genuine friends at the beginning of senior year and was finally happy again. Fast forward to graduation. We were at prom, which was strictly for students only. No outside parents were allowed. I was only there because I was volunteering on the graduation committee. For the previous 2 months, Chloe had been trying to casually talk to Nicole again because Nicole was thriving without her. Nicole had been politely avoiding her. At the dance, Chloe approached her again and asked if she'd gotten a picture with their old babysitter. Completely drained from a long day and already dealing with the sensory minefield of graduation, Nicole just looked at her and said, "What do you want?" Chloe repeated the question. Nicole answered, yes, turned around, and went back to playing a game with her friends. That was the entire interaction. Nicole simply held her boundary. Chloe immediately ran to call Sarah. Somehow, Sarah and her younger daughter, Lily, 15F, bypassed security and got into this students-only event. I was working a volunteer station when Sarah stormed right up to me, screaming that my daughter was ruining Chloe's graduation. I looked her dead in the eye, said, "I'm not talking to you," and walked away to find Nicole so we could leave before things got worse. As we were trying to walk down the hallway toward the exit, Chloe cornered Nicole again. Nicole finally stood her ground and told her, "After everything you did to me, you don't deserve to talk to me." I grabbed Nicole's arm to pull her toward the exit, and that's when Sarah and Lily completely lost it. They physically pursued us down the hallway. Lily deliberately started stepping on the long train of Nicole's graduation dress to stop her from walking away. It escalated so quickly that 2 adult graduation committee volunteers had to physically restrain Sarah and Lily to stop them from reaching us. To make the whole thing even more surreal, Nicole had literally just won a giant Ninja slushie machine in the graduation raffle. So there I was, trying to get my terrified daughter to safety while hauling this huge box with both hands as these people chased us down the hallway. We made it outside, but the confrontation followed us. By this point, Nicole was completely overstimulated and overwhelmed from the terror of being chased and physically trapped. She was in pure fight or flight mode. Chloe's friend, Harper, came charging out of the building, screaming that Nicole was a effing psycho. Completely panicked and overwhelmed, Nicole lashed out and screamed at her to go die just to make the verbal assault stop. I know she shouldn't have yelled that. Then Harper's mother, Tammy, came running over and started screaming horrible slurs at my teenage daughter, words I can't even believe a grown woman would use toward anyone, let alone an 18-year-old on her graduation day. At that point, one of the graduation committee parents yelled that they were calling the police. Venue security realized how dangerous the situation was becoming. They grabbed me and Nicole, rushed us back inside the building, and barricaded the heavy doors while Sarah and the others remained outside. We didn't wait for the police to arrive. Security escorted us through the building while my husband pulled up to a back entrance so we could finally get out of there. Somehow, I never yelled back. My entire focus was getting my daughter somewhere safe. I'm currently sitting here struggling with whether or not to file a formal police report. Half of me is terrified of the backlash it could bring down on me and my family if I push back. The other half keeps wondering whether I'm doing it because I genuinely think it's the right thing to do or because I'm still so angry about what happened. Thanks for reading. I just needed to vent somehow.